Hello and welcome back to Life on Your Terms. I'm Suzanne Arjona, your host, and today I want to talk a little bit about understanding burnout through the lens of human design. So, burnout shows up in a lot of ways and for a number of reasons. It could be overworking physically, overthinking mentally, or an overload on your emotions. Our burnout doesn't necessarily come from external factors, though. More often than not, it comes from how we respond to those external influences. So stay tuned while we explore this today. I'm Suzanne Arjona, and this is Life on Your Terms, where we'll explore how to follow your heart, take control of your life, and live it on your terms. Today, we're going to take a look at burnout through the lens of human design. We know that burnout is an extreme stress reaction, but what causes it? So first, let's go through some examples and see where they might be coming from. One way stress manifests is through the feeling that you're not being heard. Have you ever felt that where, whatever you're saying, for some reason, that message just isn't getting across, okay? The throat center in human design is all about communication. It's about expressing who we are, what we need, and what we have to share with others. And this often happens when you have an open throat center. With that openness, your job is to wait to be invited or acknowledged before speaking. Okay, that's really tough for a lot of people. I know that's really tough for me. And I don't have an open throat center. My throat center is defined, but it's still an issue sometimes. We're conditioned to speak up and speak out. We're told to shout our intentions from the rooftops. But that's not how it works if you have an open throat center. Okay, so that's just one example. Another way we experience stress is through the feeling of not being enough or not having enough. Okay, and this comes from the will center. Now, a defined will center has the challenge of burnout when you do too much or you're grinding through work that isn't aligned with your strategy. Okay, we're doing all the things, but we're doing all the wrong things. Okay, if you're not getting appropriate rest, that drive that comes through your defined will center can lead you to burnout. On the flip side of that, having an open will center has a whole other challenge. You may be so involved in trying to constantly prove your worth to other people that you overexert yourself in the same way someone with a defined will center does. Okay, and again, without proper rest, this can lead to burnout. One more example is the feeling of not being loved or feeling lovable. Okay, this also shows up for a lot of people. We're taught, we're raised to be humble, but then on the other side of that, we lower our value, we lower our worth in our own minds. Okay, this comes from your identity center. That's also called the G center. The identity center is all about love and how you know and love yourself. Okay, this feeling of not feeling lovable is similar to the feelings we have through the will center. If you're familiar with the 7 chakra system, in human design, the will and the identity center together correspond to the heart chakra. With a defined will center, you may have conditioning from some of your other open centers that tell you somehow that you are somehow inadequate or not deserving of love. With an open identity center, you might grapple with the roles that you play, especially if they don't reflect who you truly are. If you're playing these different roles, if you're in a job because of somebody else's influence and not because you really want to be there, that's one of your roles, and that's not consistent with who you want to be or who you actually are. Okay, that inconsistent identity opens you up to questioning whether you're adequate and whether you're lovable, whether you're enough, so to speak. So these are just a few examples of how stress shows up and where the burnout can begin to fester. Over the next few weeks, I'll be diving deeper into the centers individually and some of the specific gates in those centers where you might experience stress and burnout. And we'll look at ways to use the gifts of your centers to shift your viewpoint and strengthen your resilience and resistance to stressful experiences. So stay tuned and be sure to share this podcast with your friends. I'm really excited to really dig deep into some of this. This is also some of the basis of my upcoming program, which I'll tell you about a little bit later. Anyways, if you are new to human design or if you don't yet have your chart, you can get yours for free at coachingyourdesign.com, and you'll be able to follow along with all of these discussions that we're having when I talk about human design stuff. So I'll also put the link in the show notes for you, so you can go and grab that. On another note, as I mentioned earlier, and as I mentioned last week, I have a new program coming up. Burnout to Balance, Embracing the Unbalanced Balance in Life. There's a mouthful for you. This is a free 2-day program designed for you to release the pressure of trying to be everything to everyone else and reclaim your life so that you can live it on your own terms. Okay, that's something that I've been talking about for years in my blogs, in my podcast. We need to be able to live life on our own terms. So whether you feel like life is passing you by, or you're just reaching burnout and you feel like you no longer have control of your life, this program is for you. The link to sign up is in the show notes, or you can message me directly and I'll send you the link. This is a free program, 2 days free live in the room with me to get through some of this stress and burnout stuff. No strings, no obligation. This is all for you. So thank you again for tuning in this week. Please share this podcast on your social media accounts and help our community grow. So Life on Your Terms went on hiatus for about a year. That was not planned, but it happened. But we're back now and restarting and regrowing this community. So all your help is appreciated. Join me again next week and keep living life on your terms.